Imagine waking up in the morning, going on your computer and checking on your voter registration, finding out you no longer you're registered after many years of voting. What would you think? What would you do? How would you feel? That's what happened to Marcia Appling Nunez of Georgia, who discovered she no longer could vote while showing her students how to find their voting status online. The state of Georgia never changed her address, purging her instead. She was among 53,000 purged voters, 70% of which were African American, 80% minorities. Does this sound like voter suppression? Would you think you were in the Twilight Zone, or do you think you're in Georgia? Yes, with a major race for governor in Georgia, the Georgia legislators passed the exact match law. If your name or voter registration doesn't exactly match, or pretty closely match your driver's license, hyphens, or anything, or social security number, your voter registration won't be completed until you verify who you say you are. The Secretary of State, Brian Kemp, has canceled over 1.4 million voter registrations since 2012 using his office's own guidelines. And then when there were problems with these guidelines, the state of Georgia passed an even more stringent law. Coincidentally, the Secretary of State this year is implementing it with vigor. After all, he is also a major candidate, a white Republican candidate for governor of Georgia, running against an African-American female candidate. As he is in charge of the purging, it sounds like the fox in charge of the hen house. 214 polling places in Georgia have been closed since 2012. In addition, in August of this year, the election board of Randolph County, Georgia, met to consider a proposal to eliminate 3/4 of the country's polling places, only months before the November election. The county has only 9 polling places, 7 that would be closed down, one of which includes a precinct where about 97% of the citizens are black. Can you imagine that some residents would have to travel as much as 30 miles to travel a round trip to reach the nearest polling place? Does this smell of voter suppression, keeping people from voting? Georgia is not the only place. In North Dakota, Native Americans will not be able to vote as they don't have a current residential address, as they say. What has happened to the respect for the 15th Amendment, which declared that the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by the state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude? Of course, politicians found a way through the use of poll taxes, literacy tests, and other means. Today, politicians are finding more modern ways to keep people from voting. They're just as destructive, only representing a more politically correct view. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 secured the rights to vote for racial minorities throughout the country, especially in the South. This November, vote your conscience and tell your politicians we will not accept suppressing any citizen's right to vote. This is Randy Lichtman. This November, vote.